Hey everybody, we hope you had a good weekend. It's our Monday call. As usual, if you've got questions, concerns, or things going well, things going poorly, now is the time to share. Everybody would benefit from that. So if you've got anything and you're on a mic, go ahead and let Missy know so you can open your mic, or if you've got want to just type it into the chat box, that would be terrific as well. So I just want to do a reminder here, guys. Some of you, we've got a ton of guys doing events here this fall, which is a good job because this is the second best time of year to be marketing. The first best, or the best time to market is January, February, March. The second best is September and October. So we've got a lot of guys out there with a lot of activity. And because of that, I've been getting some tapes. And just as a reminder, guys, if you let us know 2 weeks before your event, we'll send you out a flip camera, and you can record it on that flip camera and then send it back to us, and we can watch that tape. Audios don't work so well for presentations. Why do you think audios don't work so well for presentations? Why do we want to actually see video for the presentations, you guys? Why do you think? Because when we think about the most important things you need to be doing, which is participation, I can't really hear or on an audio tape who's participating or what they're saying or how you're reacting to that, your body language, all sorts of things. So I can't really, and Jeff can't really give you a very good critique of your event if we just get an audio. So we'll do our best that we can. I'll tell you the first thing that I listen for. What do you think the first thing I listen for or watch for on a tape of your presentation? Because I don't watch these things front to back. We don't watch everything. We go through and we look for certain things. So what do you think the first thing that I do and look for? So somebody type that in. Guys, you really need to participate on these calls rather than just listen to me, because you know what? When you're participating, you're learning. When you're listening, well, greet the audience. Absolutely, it's perfect interaction. Yeah, Steve, you're absolutely right. But what do you think the first thing that I look for? First part of the body language, I look for, yep, you guys are right. Greeting the audience, interaction, body language, engagement. But what part of the seminar do you think I look at? Do you think I look at the beginning, the middle, or the end? What's the most important part, the beginning, the middle, or the end? What's going to determine whether you get appointments, the beginning, the middle, or the end? Beginning, Michael says. Does everybody agree with him? The close, Steve said. The close, the end, the end, the end. If you don't do a good close, are you going to get appointments, guys? If you're going to nail one part of the event, you should nail what? The close. And over and over and over, guys have called it. I didn't get and talked to me, said, I'm kind of disappointed because I didn't get a lot of appointments at the end. Guess what the first thing, or I'm sorry, we didn't get a lot of appointments. Guess what my first question is? How did the Yale close go? And guess what their answer always is? So they're wondering, they're calling up and they're saying, I'm wondering, Mike, I'm wondering why I'm not getting a lot of appointments at the event. Because these are the calls I get. The guys that are doing well, and just so you can kind of, and people want to know how things are going, with the Take Your Brain for a Jog, about a third of the guys are hitting it out of the park. They're closing 70 to 80% of the people that are coming. They're closing large amounts of business. About a third of the people are right in the middle. You know, they're closing. It looks like they're going to be closed about $300,000 to $500,000, and then a third of them are struggling. And the people who struggle are the people who call me. The people who are doing well, they don't call me. The people who are doing well, they just send me an email, let me know how things are going. But the ones that are struggling, they give me a call, and they say, I can't figure out. I didn't make very many appointments. I only made 1 or 2 appointments, blah, 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 blah. And the first thing I ask them was, how was the Yale close? And they'll say, what do you think they answer me when I ask them how the Yale close went? Well, I kind of muffed that up. Oh, I didn't do it very well. Oh, I ran out of time, so I had to rush it. Or I've got a tape right now I'm listening to, they didn't even do the Yale close. So what do you think I'm going to tell somebody if they screwed up the end? And they're wondering why they didn't do well, why they didn't close any appointments. What do you think I'm going to tell them? Do they need to really ask me why things didn't go well? No. If you don't get the close right, guess what? If you're hitting on a girl at a bar and you're really hitting it off, and then you screw up the last sentence that you give to her right before lights turn on, guess what's going to happen? You're going to go home lonely. So guys, videotape your events. Don't audio tape them. Let us know 2 weeks beforehand. We actually send you out the video camera and nail the Yale close. So like I said, we got about a third of the guys with the Take Your Brain for a Jog just killing it. We got about a third of them doing real well. I mean, closing 300 to 500,000, and we got about a third of the people struggling with it. And a large, not the total. I've got some people who struggled, who did very well in the Yale close, but the vast majority of the people are struggling are screwing up that Yale close. So,
and just one thing to add.
Nancy.
Just one thing to add to that, Mike, we do have a limited number of those video cameras, so they do go out on a first-come, first-served basis, and we do expect them to come back and rotate through very, quickly, efficiently. So if you're told that we don't have any of those cameras left, it's because some other people must have requested that camera for that same date ahead of you. So.
Well, how often are we hearing that we don't have any cameras left?
We frequently have 3/4 of them out, so right now I think we have 1 or 2 that are still available for next week, but aside from that, they're all out. So.
Yeah. So her point is good, which is when you record it, is there any sense in recording it unless you're going to send it back to us chop, so we can review it with you? So when you record it, send it back so we can get, because we got, I think, what do we have, like 8 of those cameras that we have going in and out all the time. So. Any questions on that? Take Your Brain for a Jog, the recording. Now, as far as the Social Security, we're having unbelievable success. I have not heard of one person yet who has not had success with the Social Security. So the Social Security event is going very, very well. People are filling rooms. People are very open to what they have to say. And the one thing I have to tell you at this point, though, is though things are going very well with Social Security and people are filling rooms and people are interested and they're making lots of appointments, I have not yet people haven't gotten through or moved through the whole process yet of closing business. So I can't really tell you yet how much business is being closed from Social Security, but I will tell you that the guys that are doing Social Security are doing Social Security and they're not doing Take Your Brain for a Jog. They're that satisfied with it. It's shorter, it's easier, and they're getting tons of people in the room and good people, and but they're still working through the process, so I can't actually tell you how much business is being closed by the Social Security events as yet. But I guess the biggest indicators, the people doing Social Security events have decided not to do the Take Your Brain for a Jog anymore. They're going to stick with the Social Security. So that and we actually have some changes in the Social Security event that you can use both in the Social Security, and you can borrow some of these slides and put it in your Take Your Brain for a Jog as well. So any questions on events, guys? Okay. If you do, just fire them out, and we'll get to them as we go through some of this other stuff. So we actually inserted a couple, because a lot of the guys are saying they're having trouble getting email addresses, and getting email addresses is like gold, because then it becomes very cheap for you to market ongoing to those people that give you those email addresses. So Jeff had come up with a great idea for capturing email addresses, and it's with the fact that 3 or 4 guys have actually brought to my attention that Medicare and Social Security is tied together, and Jeff brought that to my attention as well, and he actually created some slides that we inserted. You see Missy put in where we should insert those slides in the Social Security event, so that and Jeff came up with, I think, a very, very good way to capture email addresses. So you want to talk about that, Jeff, where these slides go and what they're talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, like Mike talked about, there are a couple of reasons why we did it. Number one, first and foremost, we want you to be able to capture email addresses, because if you have email addresses, then you have the ability to drip on people. And if you have the ability to drip on people, then even if they don't make an appointment initially, or they do make an appointment but they don't go through the whole process, or they do go through the whole process but they don't become clients, you have a way to get back in front of them on a topic that they're very interested in, that will get them back. They may not come back for a few weeks, they may not come back for a few months, but eventually they'll be back if you continue to drip on them. But the only way to really drip on them is if you have their email address. So we made the changes first and foremost to be able to capture email addresses, but also we made the changes because we haven't seen it yet, but you will start to hear more people getting interested in Social Security, more people, more marketing groups introducing Social Security workshops or Social Security programs. And so we wanted to set ourselves apart and let people know that you really do have to work with the right person. You just can't work with anybody who hangs a Social Security shingle outside their office, that you really are unique. So the first slide, and maybe we could see it.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay. Yep. Social Security isn't separate from Medicare. So the two are run by the Social Security Administration, and they're crazy glued. They're together. They're woven together in a way that they can't be unwoven. Your Medicare Part B premiums are actually deducted from your Social Security benefit check, your retirement benefit check. And a recent Supreme Court decision confirmed that you can't unseparate them. If you receive Social Security, you will have your Part B premium deducted from your retirement benefit, even if you have another policy through work or through another health care plan. You can't unglue retirement benefits from Medicare. And if you take one, you have to take the other. So there's a couple of unexpected consequences from that. You need to have the help of an expert. You know, a lot of times the strategies that we're going to talk about are going to involve one spouse or the other, usually the high earner, suspending their benefit for a short time. And you don't want to go down and do that without the help of an expert because, again, Medicare and Social Security are joined in unexpected ways. So if you go down there and you file and suspend and you don't do the suspension the right way, Social Security will start paying your Medicare Part B premiums from your Social Security benefit and treat you as if you were just waiving, not suspending your benefit. And if they treat you as just waiving and not suspending the benefit, well then that benefit isn't going to grow. So you may have waived the benefit for 4 years thinking that you're actually getting retirement credits, delayed retirement credits added to your check so that when you do take it at a later age, it'll be bigger. That's not the case if you don't do it right, and Social Security has you just waiving the benefit, subtracting your Part B premiums from that, and not actually suspending the benefit, requiring you to pay the Part B premiums out of your own pocket, writing a check for those yourself. So you have to do it the right way. You can't just work with anybody, even on these strategies that we're talking about.
You guys get this, guys? Oh, and that's, I'm sorry about that. Yep.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, do you guys have any questions on what Jeff is explaining here? Is it clear, or do you have questions or what he's talking about?
It will be
clear, good.
Confusing to people because we tell them to go down and file and suspend. But if you go down and file, then Social Security knows that you're eligible for Social Security. That means they're going to start taking your Part B premium out of your benefit. But if you're not receiving benefits, you're not necessarily aware that they're doing that. And you might not know that you have to pay that Part B premium out of your own pocket, because if you don't, they'll start in the background in the Social Security computers or inner workings, they'll start considering you as having signed up. And even though you suspended, that Part B premium isn't being mailed from you to Medicare, so they'll start taking it out of your Social Security check. And that'll activate your benefit so that it'll be as if you're waiving your benefit, not suspending it, not earning delayed retirement credits. You're just declining to take it and still having your Part B premium subtracted from it. So that's a big, you'd hate to suspend at 66, go to collect a bigger benefit at 70 and find out that, oh no, you're not going to get a bigger benefit. You just waived your premium. You didn't suspend it. You didn't do it right. And we all know government red tape. It's a big deal to do things right. Now here's where we get their email address. We know that Medicare.
Well, can I stop it just for a second there? And guys, I'll tell you, I did get one guy, only one guy so far. That one guy said that he's seen a Social Security mailing 3 times lately in his particular territory. As Jeff said, this is going to become more and more popular. But I have looked at both, or at the 2 big Social Security presentations out there, and they differ. First of all, the thing that Jeff just covered here, they do not cover. And could that cause huge problems for people down the road? Yes. And the second thing, both those other presentations were extremely heavy on numbers and charts and regulations and all of that. Is that a good thing to have in a presentation to the public? Lots of numbers, lots of charts, lots of calculations? No, Eric says. Why not, Eric? No, Bill says. Guys, if all because they're, again, what do I coach you guys about? Should we all love to do what as advisors? Teach, 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 teach. And when you teach, what do they do with that information? Bill, you're right. It's too complex for one thing because you lose them. I don't even, do you guys, I'm 50 years old and my brain doesn't work the way, trying to help my kids with math is a real chore now because my brain doesn't work the way that it used to. As soon as I see numbers, guess what I do? I turn it off. And then Eric says, yeah, and if they do get all of this stuff, they just take it right back to their current guy. So if you look at our Social Security event that we do, or Social Security workshop that we do, is there stuff, do we explain anything on how this works, or do we just make it clear that you have a problem, there are consequences of that problem, and we can fix that problem? And Jeff just brought up a fantastic problem that nobody's thinking about. None of these other events or seminars even talk about. And that's what we'll continue to bring to you to make sure that you look different from anybody else out there. And you know what? The point is, too, you should be out here, one of the first people out here talking about Social Security, or you should wait till everybody else in your territory is talking about it. You should be one of those first people. Yeah, and Eric, right. The point is to get an appointment, not to educate them and go through all the numbers and confuse the hell out of them. It's to get an appointment, and that's how our event looks, or workshop looks totally different from all the two other seminars that I've seen out there on Social Security. So, I'm sorry, Jeff. So now we're going to use that information to get their email addresses.
Yep, because you want to get that to continue to drip on people. So we let them know if you'd like an easy way to stay informed on how Medicare and Social Security are connected, then just give us your email, or how Medicare works. Jot down your email address on the evaluation form, and we'll send you periodic updates. So you should get a lot of people. There are a ton of questions about Medicare as well as Social Security, so I'd be surprised if you didn't get a lot of people at least giving you their email address, because sometimes maybe they're not ready to file for 9, 10, or 11 months and they plan on coming back to see you. But this is a way to get in front of them so that they come and see you sooner rather than later.
Yep, and Jeff brings up a great point. So this is about 2/3 of the way into the event, and Jeff brings up a great point in that we're mailing to 59.5 to 63-year-olds. So are all these people going to be filing for Social Security in the next 3 months or so? No. There's going to be a lot of people who are still a year or 2 years out, and we need to get them in to see us. Now, we do that by telling them, hey, there's already been one thing that's been missed, or that you've missed that they've taken away, that if you'd been applied earlier, you would have been able to grandfather in, and now's the time to be planning. So we do all those things, but then I've added another slide in there, another 3 or 4 slides right at the very end to make sure that everybody wants to make an appointment with you now, whether or not they are applying for Social Security in the next 2 or 3 months. Doesn't matter. If they're over 59.5, they're going to want to apply or get an appointment with you. And here's what we've added right at the very end. First thing we say is that, because we've covered all the Social Security stuff, but now we're going to add this on. We're going to say, and here's another secret you might be missing. And you see this inserted after slide 78. That is IRS 6824. So IRS Rev Ruling 6824, if you are over 59.5 and you own an IRA or 401k or a 403b, this secret could provide unbelievable benefits for you. How many of you in the last 6 months have used Ruling 68-24 on your IRA, 401k, or 403b? How many people are going to say that? None, exactly. None. So what is IRS 6824? I would imagine that none of you know what 6824 is, do you? So the IRS 6824 allows a strategy that could provide you a guaranteed income for life of, and here's the thing, folks, I want you to understand that this guarantee has changed. That guarantee used to be 7%. So if you had applied 6824 early enough, you would have got a 7% guaranteed income for life. Then it fell to 6.5, and now it's just 6%. But, you know, when I say just 6%, how many of you are earning 6% on your guaranteed income for life on any of your 401ks, 403bs, or IRAs out there? What are they going to say? So the good news is, when you lock in, you're grandfathered in for life. So when do you think you should do this, folks? What do you think is going to happen? I mean, what's the trend here? The interest rate's going up or the interest is going down? Going down. So when do you think you should make this decision or be aware of this so that you can make a decision on this? And what are they going to say? So this is what we do at the very end. Do you see how this then can get appointments when we do it this way, whether or not they're applying for Social Security? 2 years from now or 2 months from now or 2 weeks from now, everybody's going to want to take advantage of this. So what do you, Bill got it right. What we're talking about here, 6824 is talking about the ability to make in-service transactions, non-hardship transfers after you're 59 and a half from their current 401k to, or current, obviously IRA or 403b to their own private IRA. And of course, what am I talking about with the guaranteed income? What are we talking about here? Let's see if we got it. Income rider. That's all we're talking about, Fred. Exactly, income rider. So this is at the very end, which will get people wanting to know, how do I do that right now? So that's why we've added those slides in. And Missy, those are all now added into the event on the site. Is that correct?
That is correct. If they just download a new version of the Social Security presentation, you'll find them all in there. And we've also put on the home page, the very front page that you come into, it tells you those little numbers that Mike was going through, insert this one as slide number, whatever. We've noted those as well.
So any questions on this, guys? Now, can you also use this, guys, in the Take Your Brain for a Jog and insert it into the Take Your Brain for a Jog? Either one of the things that Jeff and I had talked about. Yes, sir. Exactly. So, because I would give you a hint. On the Take Your Brain for a Jog, the two final things we cover are the Social Security and the SAIL software. And what is we've gotten tons of feedback over the last 18 months on this. What does everybody talk about? Social Security or the SAIL? What do you think people are talking? Social Security. Everybody's saying Social Security. Yep. Social Security, Social Security. That's what they're talking about. So I would consider inserting these in and shrinking the SAIL presentation in that in the Take Your Brain for a Jog. Okay? So any questions on this before we move over to the real topic, which is how to do beneficiaries? Any questions, comments on this? Okay, we'll move forward. Okay, so beneficiary portion of the disclosure meeting. So what is our point here? Again, remember the formula we have for a disclosure meeting is, first of all, we have them sell us on why what it is we're going to talk about next is so important. And in this case, so beneficiaries. So we want them to sell us on why and how beneficiaries work right up front. Because then once they've told us how they work, they can't change their mind. So we talk about, and we're going to have them, well, here, let me talk about this here a second. How many of us are able to collect the actual beneficiaries and the beneficiary forms of their particular retirement accounts? It's not an easy thing to get, because if it's a piece of paperwork that once they sign it, they never look at it again, and it's not something they bring in. They bring in statements, but they don't bring all their applications and all that stuff in. So can we assume who their beneficiary is? Should we assume who their beneficiary is? No, we can't assume that. So guess how we're going to figure out who their beneficiary is? We're going to have them tell us who their beneficiary is. Ask, exactly right. So what I'm going to do here is say, hey, next thing we want to cover is beneficiaries, and obviously you have a pretty sizable IRA. That's where most of your money is besides your house. And if anything were to happen to you, where do you want to go? Well, I want to go to my wife. Well, yeah, that makes sense, because that's how I have mine set up as well. And how does the brokerage firm know that you and or that it should go to your wife if something happens to you? Well, I fill out this form listing my wife as a beneficiary. Yeah, right. And those forms are so important. Here, let me give you an example of those forms. So now I'm going to go through a story about what can happen if the beneficiary forms are not put in place. Now, why do I have this story? Does anybody know why I put this story? Remember, this is a story about this client that I had whose daughter married a really bad guy who beat her and everything else, and then when she divorced him and then married this other family, and she got a great will and a great trust from the best attorney in town that listed her new husband and her kids as the beneficiaries, and then unfortunately she passed away, and what did she forget to do? So she had this great will, great trust put into place, and what did she forget to do? Yep, that's right, Steve. It illustrates that the beneficiaries trump the trust. The beneficiaries trump the will. And the reason I have this here is because people can be pretty embarrassed at the end here when they find out that they've disinherited their grandchildren. And when people are embarrassed, they get a little defensive. So guess what I kept, when I was recording my meetings, I kept having people, when I get to the point where I show them that they've disinherited, or they told me that they've disinherited their grandchildren, they would have a knee-jerk reaction and say, oh, no, we didn't, because our grandchildren are listed where? In the will, or in their trust. And then I'd have to go through this whole explanation of having them explain to me why that wasn't the case and whatever else. So this story is put here because too many times people would have a knee-jerk reaction and say, oh, no. They're listed in the will. And then I have to go through this whole explanation that it doesn't go through the will. It goes through the beneficiary forms. So it's much easier to do it up front. It's much easier to have them tell you up front over and over and over that yes, it goes. Everything goes through. Retirement accounts go through the beneficiary form, not through the trust and the will. So you don't have to go through that at the end. So if there's any questions on why we do this story, because a lot of people scratch their head and say, why are we going through this whole story? It's to prevent a common objection going forward. Because the best way to overcome an objection is what, guys? The best way to overcome an objection is what? What's the best way to overcome an objection? Cover it before they bring it up. Exactly. Answer it first, answer it first. That's exactly right. So that's what this whole story is about, okay? So it has them tell us over and over again that even if they have the best attorney, the best will, the best trust, it doesn't matter because the beneficiary form, as Steve said earlier, trumps the will or the trust. That's what this is all about. So the next, as we just said here, even the best attorney, best will, best trust cannot overcome the beneficiary. So that's what this is all about. So then I'm going to have them draw out exactly how they're having the beneficiaries. So I go right back here, and guys, do you notice how I'm repeating a lot of this stuff over and over and over again? Why do I keep repeating this stuff over and over and over again? Like, okay, now you said your beneficiary was who? Why do we keep having them repeat this stuff over and over and over again? Yep, that's right, Eric, to have the client tell you why it's important rather than you have them. And the fact is that the more they say it, the less they can change their mind on it. So I'm having them draw out here. So in your case, if anything happens to you, where does it go? It goes to my wife. And if she weren't around, then who would you want to go to? With my kids. Yeah, that makes sense. And you have how many kids? Well, I have 3. So you draw out your 3, or it's already drawn for you in the disclosure presentation, or you can draw it out on a sheet of paper. So you're going to draw out a circle, and then you're going to draw 3 lines underneath them, which are the kids. Now, I want them to say equally in their own words. So you're going to see, I want them to say equally, that it's equally, it's equally, it's equally. To the kids, equally, equally, equally. Why do I want them to say it's equally over and over and over? Because if they say it's equally, and how many people do have it to their kids equally? Almost everybody we sit down with. But I want them to say it's equally, because if they say it's equally, then I can show them that they've disinherited their grandchildren. If they don't say equally, I can't show them that they've disinherited their grandchildren. So I want them to say equally. So you're going to see this whole script is about getting them to say equally over and over and over. So as those of you who've been working on the coaching calls have known, one of the ways we get people to say things is to exaggerate things in the opposite direction we want them to say. So in this case, I'm exaggerating. Say, so now I'm assuming you want 90% to go to your oldest children, and the other 2 younger ones split the 10%, right? So I do that. So they say what? No. No. We have it going to the kids what? Equally. Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense. I mean, I was kind of joking earlier about the oldest getting 90% of the account because, why wouldn't you want to do something like that? Well, because we love our kids equally. See, I want them to say over and over, equally, equally, equally. And what would happen if you actually did give 90% to the oldest and the other 2 had to split what's left? Oh, there'd be some fighting. Yeah. And you don't want any part of that. So kids equally makes sense. And that's exactly how all of my clients have their beneficiaries set up. See, now we've got them saying what? That they have it set up to their kids equally. The more you can get them to say that, the better. And when I looked at your accounts in particular, that's what it appeared to be as well. So and some of your kids now have kids of their own, right? Right. So your oldest son, John, has how many kids? And you start drawing out little sticks on how many kids each of the kids have. 2, and Mary in the middle has how many? 1, and the youngest has how many? 1, none at the moment. So now we're going to get them to say that they love their grandkids more than life, and they do nothing to harm them. So you haven't told us of them. And are you unusual in that way, or does everybody love their grandkids? Oh, everybody loves their grandkids. Yeah, I mean, if I lined up 100, and again, guys, this is just like we talked about last Monday. Does this script contain all the words that I use, guys? Just remember when we talked about last week? No, exactly. It's more of an outline. It's more of an outline because I'll go into this, like we showed earlier. I wouldn't have them tell me that it goes to the kids equally twice. I'd have them tell me 4 or 5, 6 times that it goes to the kids equally. Right here, that they love their grandkids, I'm going to make them tell me that they love their grandkids 6, 7, 8 times. Because if they tell me they love their grandchildren, they can't at the end say, when they find out they disinherit their grandchildren, say, they'll be taken care of, okay. Everything works out. No, I'm going to make them tell me they love their grandkids over and over and over so they can't say those things at the end. Because, again, the best way to overcome an objection is to bring it out or have them or overcome it before they even bring it up. And the second objection, besides, hey, my kids go through the will, the second objection I'd get occasionally is, well, the grandkids will be taken care of. I don't want them to say that because I want them to you wouldn't say that about somebody you really, really love. So some of the things I would add here, for example, is say, if I lined up 100 grandparents in a row and asked them, hey, do you love your grandkids? What percentage of those 100 would say they love their grandkids? And they say, well, yeah, probably all of them. I say, yeah, because if one of them said, no, I don't love my grandkids, what would everybody else on the line do? And I actually do this physically, guys. I'll like lean forward and look like I'm turn my head like I'm looking down the line. I'll say, yeah, so what would everybody in that line do and look down at that person who said they didn't love their grandkids? Why do you think I'm doing that? Actually, physically looking forward and looking down. Why do you think I do that, guys? Visualization, Rick. Exactly right. Visualization. Because now they're visualizing being that person who said that they didn't love their grandchildren and feeling what? The ridicule and embarrassment of that. So would anybody want to be that person who said no and have 99 other people look at him like you are got your a cracked noggin? No. So I'm having them visualize what it would be like to not love their grandkids. So do you get what I'm doing here? So I'm locking them into the fact that they love their grandkids in any way possibly I can. And then I can say that. Oh, here we go. 100 different grandparents asked and blah, blah. We just went through that. So then I get them back to drawing their own beneficiary. So we've got them locked in at what? Number one is that the kids don't go through the will when it comes to their IRA. The grandkids, it goes through the beneficiary form. Now we've also got them locked into how they have their beneficiary set up are equally to the kids, and we have them locked in that they love their grandkids. So then I'm going to go back to have them drawing their own beneficiary situation again. So if something happened to you, see how I'm repeating this again. Locking them in. If something happened to you, goes to Mary, and God forbid if something happened to both of you, where would you want your IRA to go? Well, to the kids. And again, it goes to the kids what again? Equally. Sure, and that makes sense. And if something would happen to one of these kids, God forbid again, they predecease you, then where would you want your share to go? Well, to his kids, to my grandkids. Now I'm going to have them tell me why it would be so important that it would go from their kids to their grandkids. Why? And so why do you think that's important to do? Again, so they don't say what? Well, the kids will just take care of themselves and blah, 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 blah. I want them to tell me why it's so important that if God forbid, one of their kids predeceased them and their spouse, that it would follow to their grandkids. Well, yeah, that makes sense. And why would you want that? Well, because it'd only be fair. Yeah, when you think about it, wouldn't they need it more? Because if they lost a breadwinning parent, wouldn't they need money even more? What kind of things would they need that for? And again, you see me telling here should be where I'm asking them questions and having them tell me. So what kind of things, if you lost a breadwinning parent, would you need that money for? And you're going to make the client say what? Well, just probably everyday needs, yeah, and they might need it, for daycare or stuff like that. And they might need it for daycare. And if you lose a breadwinning parent too, if you want the kids to do what after high school, will go to college, would it be easier or harder for one parent, a single breadwinner, to put enough money aside for college? Well, it'd be really hard. Yeah. So there's lots of things that it would be more difficult for a single parent to provide for the kids, and so it'd be important to have what? Well, they would have at least their parents' share of it. Yeah, exactly. So we're going to have them say over and over and over why it makes sense to have it go to the grandkids. And then you're going to see how we lock them in step by step. And this seems plotting, guys. It seems like I'm plotting through. Why is it taking you so long to get to the point, Mike? Why is it taking you so long? Why are you having to repeat this over and over and over, taking such tiny steps when you could just explain it in about 10 seconds? Because they need to tell you, and when they're learning something new, because are they about to learn something new here, guys? Are they about to learn something new? Are they aware that they're disinheriting their grandchildren? Or is this a new concept to them? New. Exactly. So I need to take it slowly and take it a little bit. And what a Socratic method is, for those of you who don't know, is this, is that you go through and say, well, can we agree that A is greater than B? And they say yes. And I say, well, if A is greater than B, would A also be greater than C? And they say, well, yeah. And I say, well, how about C? If C is greater than, is C greater than D? Yes, C is greater than D. And is D greater than E? Yeah, D is greater than E. And is E greater than F? Yeah, E is greater than F. Well, then, if A was greater than B, B is greater than C, C is greater than D, and on, can we also agree then that A is greater than F? And they have to say what at that point? Yeah. Yeah, it is. Because all these other things made up. See, and they won't argue. If I know they're going to argue about A being greater than F, I need to lock them in by taking them through this Socratic method. And are they going to argue that they're not disinheriting their grandchildren? Yes. So I have to take them through this process by doing A is greater than B, B is greater than C, C is greater than D, so that at the end we can agree that A is greater than F, or you have just disinherited your grandchildren. Does that make sense, or do I have any questions on that? Let's see what Eric says. Eric says, have the client build a case on why to include grandkids and recognize that they have been cut out. Exactly right. That's exactly what we're doing here. So I'm going to say again, now how many kids do you have? Well, 3. Now, if something happened to both of you, what percentages would you want divided among the kids? And they say, well, I'd want a third, because we said earlier that it's what? Equally. Exactly. And if you had 100% of anything, so if I have 100% of anything, now here's another trick I use, guys. If I go right to the beneficiaries, again, will they be fighting us? Yes. So here's the Socratic method I'm talking about. I'm saying, well, if we had 100% of anything, and you divide that equally among 3 people, how much would each person get? And they'd say, 1/3. 1/3, and 1/3. Will anybody argue with you on that? If you take something, divide it among 3 people equally, between 3 people, see, so they can't argue with you on that. So then I'm going to take it one step further. I'm going to say, yeah, for example, if I had a pie, and I would divide that pie equally between 3 people, how many would each person get? Would get 1/3. See, are we talking about money here, guys? No. Are we talking about their IRA? No. We're just saying, in general, is that how math works? And they're saying, yeah, that's exactly how math works. See, because can we argue about math? No. Can we argue about beneficiaries? Yes, they can argue about beneficiaries. So what we're doing is we're locking them in that, hey, math works that way. It works that way for, in general. It works that way for pies. So then they're also going to have to admit that it works that way for what? Their IRA. So if you divide 100% of your IRA among your kids equally, how much will they each get? Well, 1/3. And again, a lot of advisors say, Mike, what the hell are you doing? What's all this jibber-jabber you're doing? Guys, I'm backing them into it so that they cannot argue at the end. Do you really want an argument at the end? No. So that's why I'm doing this. This is locking them in with the Socratic method. Yeah, right. So Bob will get 1/3, and Mary will get 1/3, and Ted will get 1/3. Now, God forbid again, let's just say a child predeceases you. They die before you. Now how many kids do you still have living? Well, we have 2. Exactly. Now I'm covering up with my hand. I cover up that one of the children, one of the circles. Yeah, you have 2. Now, and again, do I go right for the beneficiary then, or do I go right back to generalities again? I go right back to generalities and say, yeah, so if we had, if I was going to divide anything between 2 people, how much would each person get? Well, they'd get 50%. Yeah. So if I had a pie, and I was going to divide a pie equally between 2 people, how much would each one get? Well, they'd get half. Yeah, so then if we take 1/2 of your IRA and divide it equally between your 2 remaining kids, how much will each get? Well, 50 and 50. And then how much is left over? Well, none. Then I lift my hand up from that circle and say, so who have we left out? Oh, we left my grandkids out. It doesn't sound like you knew this could happen. So this wasn't intentional, was it? Well, no, not at all. Not at all. Of course not, because we just said that you love them, right? Now, who helped you fill out this paperwork for your beneficiary? And what are they going to say? Well, my advisor did. So now we're going to say, hey, now we caught this, because a lot of times at this point, again, they're going to get defensive, and they're going to say, well, yeah, well, we caught it, so we can just fix it. So which means we found a mistake, and they're going to fix it, which gets us what, guys? If all we did was find a mistake, and they're going to fix it, what does that get us? What are they going to do with that information? Nothing, you're right. They're going to take it right back to their guy. So I have to say, hey, we caught it, but is that the real problem? No. What's the real problem, guys? What are we going to get to? What's the real problem here? They have to understand that the real problem was not the fact that they're disinheriting their grandchildren. The real problem was the motivation, right, Pete? The advisor, Roger, exactly. So the good news is we caught it. So I'm just going to go right up there. I'm going to say it before they say it. I'm going to say it before they say, yeah, we caught it. We can fix it. Now, it's going to take 4 to 6 weeks to fix. And here's why. We have to get the old forms back from the company, then we have to fill out new forms, and we have to send them in new forms to the company to be refiled, and then they need to follow up and make sure. I want to make this sound really complicated so they understand this. You know what? Is it easier to do things right the first time or to fix things afterwards, guys? The first time. So, we can do all this stuff, and we're going to help you do that, when you come on board. It's just going to take some time. But, the thing I have to think about is how long would it have taken, do you think, to fill out the forms the right way in the first place? What are they going to say? Again, we're going to have the Socratic method again. Well, I'll tell you, it takes about 3 minutes. And, we can fix it. But it's going to take 4 to 6 weeks to straighten out. I guess my question is, why didn't they just fill in the form correctly the first time? When you sat down to open the account. Well, I'm not really sure. Well, I'm not really sure either. Well, let's talk about this. And then remember outs and in. What's an out and in, guys? What's an out and an in? Let's see if we get somebody who can remember that. It's been to some of the advanced trails training. What's an out and an in? Anybody? Somebody's probably typing. Nope, Eric's got a question mark. Okay, those of you that have been back to the training, we go through this quite a bit. An out and in is this. Anytime I'm going to, yeah, there you go, Pete. Let's give them a way out. Yep. And then draw them back in, Fred. Yeah, you got them perfectly. So we give them an out, and then we draw them back in. Because if all we do is try to lock them in, and put them in a corner, eventually you can get the answers you want, but when you push somebody in a corner, how do they react, guys? So if I say, so Jeff, you're the client. You're there? Sometimes he goes.
Yep, I'm here.
Super. So you're the client. I say, so Jeff, did you mean to disinherit your grandchildren?
No, I didn't mean to do that.
And did your advisor fill out that paperwork for you?
Well, he helped, sure.
Yeah. And did you tell him to disinherit your grandchildren?
Well, no, but I'm sure he didn't do it on purpose.
No, he didn't. And if he didn't, though, why wouldn't he put down the right thing the right way?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he just made a mistake. Maybe he didn't know about it.
Maybe he didn't. And do you really want an advisor who doesn't know about something?
Well,
can I push Jeff into a corner and make him look really stupid, or that their advisor is really stupid? Can I do that? Sure. And in the end, Jeff will grudgingly finally tell me that I'm right. And then we got Bill saying, yes, there'll be a fight or a flight. So I'll make sure Jeff understands. And guys, this is the way I used to do it when I was making $50,000 a year. I would make sure that Jeff, under no uncertain terms, understood that their guy either did it because he was lazy, or he didn't care, or he did it on purpose. And Jeff would admit it at the end, but he'd do so grudgingly. And then as soon as he walked out that door, guess what he did? Did he think, I can't wait to come back to see Mike? Or did he say, I need to go back to my guy and get this fixed because I don't like Mike? Which way do you think they did it? Does anybody like to be made to look stupid? No. So I can't tell Jeff these things. He has to tell me. And in order for me to get Jeff to tell me these things, I'm going to have to give him an out and then lock him in. Give him an out and then lock him in. And here's an example of an out. I say, well, but let's be fair about this, Jeff, because there's a lot of things right with this account. For example, on your statement, is his name and contact information right?
Yeah, it's right.
Yeah. And why is that important to you?
Well, so I know who to get in touch with if I have questions about anything.
Yeah, you need to know who to contact, who's responsible, his phone number. I mean, that's important to you, isn't it?
Right. Yeah,
and so I've given Jeff an out. Hey, he's done some things right. I'm not saying he's done everything wrong. I said he's done some things right. And then I'm going to say, and that's important information, but who else is that right for? Or I'm sorry, who is it right for? Who else is that important that information at the top is right?
I'm sure the broker wants to know, or it's important to him, or the company.
Yeah, he wants to keep track of who the clients are and things like that. And
right.
If you think about it, what if some other advisor's name was at the top of that statement? Would that affect your advisor?
Oh, yeah. I mean, probably the other guy would get paid instead.
Oh, the other guy get paid. So, I mean, it's important to you because you need to know who to contact, and it's important to him. Why?
So he can get paid on the account.
Yeah. So do you see, guys, I've said, hey, I understand that some of this stuff is important to you, but let's talk about why it would be important to him. Do you see how this sounds more reasonable than me backing him into a corner? Hey, you got another thing right, Jeff. I mean, I also know the account balance here at the bottom is right. Is that important to you?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Because, I mean, why is that important to you? I mean, it would be important to me, too. Why would it be important to you?
Well, I need to know how we're doing.
Yeah.
We're
And how long did you work for that money?
years. I mean,
So is it a little important or a lot important that that
Very
value is
important.
right? Yeah, it's very important. So having that value is important to you. Is it also important to your advisor?
yeah, I'm sure he wants to let us know how he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, because he doesn't want you mad at him, right?
Right.
So it better be accurate, or you're going to give him a piece of your mind, right?
Right.
Yeah. And why else would it be important to him? If it had $1 million at the bottom instead of the $300,000 that's there right now, would that affect him at all?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure he'd make more on $1 million.
Yeah. So, you know, he wants to make sure that it's right so that you don't get mad at him, but he also wants to make sure it's right so he can get what?
Well, so he can get paid the right amount.
Yeah, so he can get paid the right amount. So, I mean, he got some things right here. He got the amount, he got the name and his name and address and contact information right. He got the account balance right, and those things are important to you, right?
Right.
And they're important to him, and why were they important to him again?
Well, so he gets paid the right amount on the account.
You know, and it's okay for him to get paid, isn't it?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. So we want to get paid. But now the thing is, what's more important though when money's important to us, right? But what's more important than money?
Well, family is more important.
Isn't it? Because I mean,
Yeah.
money's important, but push comes to shove, I say, I'll give you $1 million or give me your first child. What are you going to say?
Well, family is more important than
Family's
than
more
money.
important. It absolutely is. And I know your family is extremely important to you. I mean, it's become very apparent working with you. And so he got a lot of things right here. He got, again, when we look at your account, your advisor got his name right, right?
Right.
You got the account balance right.
Yep.
So he got the amount of money in the account right, and his name is right on the account. So what did he get wrong, though, did we just find out?
Well, the beneficiary form.
Yeah, I mean, we found out that what would happen. You know, we caught it. We're going to fix it. But what would have happened if we didn't fix it?
Well,
What could have
then
happened?
my grandkids could have gotten disinherited.
Yeah, your grandkids could have gotten disinherited. So now we're going to go in for the motive, guys. Exactly. So he got some things that, so the things he got right dealt with how much he's what?
Well, how much he's paid.
But can I ask you a question? Do you think that he gets paid a bonus for filling out the beneficiary form right?
I wouldn't think so, no.
Do you think the company gives him an extra, $5,000 when he fills out paper, spends an extra 30 seconds on the paperwork and fills it out,
I'm
right?
sure they don't.
No. So he got the things that he got paid on. Right, he got those things right, but we found out the things that he didn't get paid on, what happened?
Well, they're not right.
And are those things important to you or not important to you?
Oh, no, they're very important.
Yeah. So when it comes to the things that he needs to do for you, because he needs to do all the things. He needs to have his contact information right?
Yes.
He needs to have the account value right.
Yep.
And does he also need to make sure that this money goes in the manner that you want it to go to?
Yeah, definitely.
So he got two things right, and he missed which one?
Well, the one that has to do with where the money goes if something happens.
Yeah. So when it push comes to shove, what happened here? He got what kind of things right, and he missed what kind of things?
Well, he got the things that make him money right. He missed the things that don't make him any money.
So why is that important?
Well, we want to make sure we're working with somebody who cares about us and is looking out for us and not just looking out for himself.
Yeah. I mean, isn't that really, because all advisors are supposed to get a good rate of return or not get a good rate of return.
Well, they're supposed to get a good rate of return.
And all advisors are also supposed to make sure that what?
Well, the money goes where you want it to go
Yeah.
if something happens.
Right. And is that happening here?
No.
And it all comes down to what? The almighty what?
Well, dollar.
Yeah. So we're going to take care of it for you, Jeff, and unfortunately it takes a lot longer to fix it than it would have taken to do things right the first time, but we'll take care of it for you. Now the next thing we need to talk about, and I move on to the next thing. So I made sure that Jeff said what, guys? I made sure Jeff was clear on what? That his beneficiaries are wrong? Yeah, but did I stop there? Because if that's where I stopped, guess what you would have? If all he understood was that his beneficiaries are wrong, what would I have? Nothing. He would just take it right back to his current guy and get it fixed, right? Because all he wants to do is what? Thanks for finding this mistake. I just need to get it fixed. No, I have to continue on and have Jeff assign the motive on why this guy did it. So why did this guy do it? Because he doesn't what? Doesn't know, doesn't care, or did it on purpose. Just doesn't care. He's only interested in his pay. And I'll tell you, if I wanted to, I could have had Jeff tell me that this guy did it on purpose, which would be even worse, right? But I don't do that here because I'm backing in. Remember last week I said the power of attorney was, oh, they're a little disappointed in their guy. He doesn't walk on water anymore. They thought they loved him, but now they're saying they're a little disappointed in him. Now when we get to the beneficiaries, I still don't go through the throat. I could go for the throat, but I learned that by going for the throat, they still may buck. They still may try to push back. So I don't go for the throat here. I just have them say, you know, I'm a little irritated with my guy. I'm not going to try to get them to say I hate my guy yet. I'm just a little irritated with my guy. Seems like he's only interested in taking care of himself. I'm doing that so that when I finally get to the money and they come to the conclusion this guy is actually hiding things from me to line his own pocketbook, that they're already been conditioned, so that thought comes very, very easy to them. Does that make sense? So that's why we've gone from power of attorney and all the things prior to that, which was I'm a little disappointed, to the beneficiaries and some of the other things we talked about, which is I'm a little irritated, before we finally get to the money and they start to say, I can see this guy is withholding information from me for the sole purpose of lining his own pocket. Does that make sense? And does it also make sense, more importantly, that why it takes so long to get to the point? Because couldn't I have just cut to the chase, guys, and said, Jeff, just so you know, I found a mistake with your beneficiaries. You're actually disinheriting your grandchildren. I could have done that. How long did that take, guys? Took me about 10 seconds. Why all this other finagling when I could just say, well, Jeff, I found some things wrong here. One thing is you're disinheriting your grandchildren.
Where do you see that?
So now what does it sound like? When Jeff said that, now what does it sound like we have here, guys? What did he just say? How did he say it? What do we have if that's a war, Roger? You're right, a war, a confrontation. Do I want that? Because doing it the way I just did it, was there any confrontation or conflict? No. I walked him through it so Jeff came to his own conclusion. That's the beauty of this system. That's the way of communicating instead of selling. When you communicate, it's the most non-threatening, easy, low-stress type of sale you'll ever make. Because there's no stress. Was Jeff ever stressed through this whole conversation I had with him about beneficiaries? No. Was I ever stressed? No. But here's the great thing. Was I in total control of the whole conversation, guys? So there's no stress on Jeff's part, so there's no stress on my part. But guess what? The stress for me even goes down further because I am in complete control of this conversation. I only asked questions I knew the answer to because of the way I set them up. So does that make sense? Do you get why this takes longer than just saying, Jeff, I found some problems. You're disinheriting your grandchildren. That's why it takes so long. So was this helpful to go through it this way, guys? Good. So any questions on this before we let you go? Super. I appreciate you guys a lot, and really appreciate you investing the time on Monday mornings to listen to these calls. Hopefully you find that they're working out well for you and you're learning things. So if you have any ideas on other things you want us to cover on these calls, please shoot us an email. I'll be glad to address things that you'd like to see going forward. So thanks again, guys, and have a great rest of the week. Take care. Oh, wait. I got a question here. What is the particular form used to use on the contingent beneficiary form? And there is no particular form. It's actually just you're going to state it a certain way. And Missy, where do we have that on the website?
She might have muted, but
Sorry
I
about
think
that.
it's...
We do have it out on the website. Underneath, I believe it is the third meeting. I'm just going out there here at the same time. But implementation meeting, and I think it's just called contingent beneficiary. Might actually be underneath the, there it is, underneath the disclosure meeting contingent beneficiary template.
We'll actually give you the verbiage that you need to use on the beneficiary forms. Bill says he'd like to discuss the Yale close. Excellent. So Missy, can you remind me to add that to the topics to cover in the future? The Yale
I sure
close?
will.
Super. Thanks, guys, and thanks, Bill, for that suggestion. Take care, everybody.